important than just being smart. Once upon a time in a beautiful forest, a lonely elephant searched for a friend. Monkey said, "Can't swing on trees." Rabbit said, "Den too small for you." Even frogs wouldn't be friends. Next day, a scary tiger came. Animals ran. "Tiger my way," roared the tiger at the elephant. The elephant wasn't scared. He fought the tiger and chased it away. The baby bear, saved, became the elephant's first friend. Soon, all the animals wanted to be the elephant's friend. Remember, friends come in all shapes and sizes. Don't judge by looks. In a faraway kingdom, kings only ruled 5 years. By law, they had to retire to a scary forest with wild animals. Many brave kings tried, but none returned. One day, the people chose a wise man to be their king. He said no at first. Then he said, "I accept, but on one condition. You must allow me to visit the forest first." The people, surprised, agreed. He found that the place is full of trees and dangerous animals. There were no facilities for survival. He decided to become the king. So the new king spent his 5 years wisely. In the first year, he started cutting some trees to make a safe path to visit forest. In the second year, he shifted the dangerous animals to the safest place. In the third year, he even started farms and built tiny houses. By the end, the scary forest was a peaceful place to live. The wise king proved, if you can manage the time well, you can making things better. Once upon a time, a man and his wife had the good fortune to have a goose, which laid a golden egg every day. Lucky though they were, they soon began to think they were not getting rich fast enough. They imagined that if the bird is able to lay golden eggs, its insides must be made of gold. And they thought that if they could get all that precious metal at once, they would get mighty rich very soon. So the man and his wife decided to kill the bird. However, upon cutting the goose open, they were shocked to find that its innards were like that of any other goose. Always remember to think before you act. Once upon a time, there was a little ant named Andy. He loved exploring the world around him. One sunny day, he found a big, juicy watermelon. Andy wanted to bring it back to his ant friends, but it was too heavy for him. He called for help, and a wise Oliver said, "Andy, even small creatures can achieve big things when they work together. Let's gather our friends." Andy and Oliver called all the other ants. They formed a line and pushed the watermelon together. It was hard work, but they didn't give up. They moved the watermelon bit by bit, helping each other along the way. Finally, they reached their anthill with the watermelon. The ants celebrated and shared the delicious fruit. They realized that by working together, they could do anything. From that day on, the ants always worked as a team. And so, the little ant named Andy taught his friends the importance of unity. They learned that even the smallest creatures can achieve big things when they help and support each other. Once upon a time, there were 4 friends. 3 of them knew magic, while the 4th one was just a regular guy. They went on a journey to find a way to earn money. In a forest, they found some bones under a tree. They thought it was a good chance to show their magic. The first friend used his magic to turn the bones into a skeleton. The second friend used his magic to cover the skeleton with flesh, making it look like a lion. The third friend was about to use his magic to bring the lion to life, but the 4th friend stopped him. He said, "If the lion comes to life, it might harm us." But the other friends didn't listen and brought the lion to life. As the 4th friend had warned, the lion attacked them. The 4th friend, who had climbed a tree, was safe. He returned to the village alone, reminding us that common sense is also a form of wisdom. Once upon a time, 3 strong men decided to build houses for themselves. The first strong man built his house quickly with mud, taking the easiest and fastest route. The second strong man chose sticks for his house, a slightly stronger but still quick option. The third strong man, however, decided to build his house with bricks, putting in the time and effort to create a strong and reliable shelter. When they finished building their houses, suddenly a storm approached them. The storm blew down the houses of mud and sticks, and the storm couldn't destroy it. The third strong man's careful planning and house were safe. Remember, it is better to work hard and invest time in building a strong foundation rather than quick and easy solutions.
Once upon a time, there was a very lazy man living in a village. He always sought ways to get food without working hard. One morning, while wandering around the countryside, he decided to steal some apples to eat. As soon as he tried to pick an apple, a farmer saw him and started approaching. The lazy man, frightened, ran into the nearby forest to hide. As he walked through the forest, he came across an old wolf with only 2 legs. The man wondered how the wolf was surviving. Unable to run or feed itself, and with threats from other animals, the wolf was happily crawling around. Suddenly the man saw a lion approaching the wolf with a piece of meat in its mouth. Fearing for his own safety, the man climbed a tree. To his surprise, the lion left the piece of meat for the wolf to eat. The lazy man felt happy witnessing this act and thought it was part of God's plan. He believed that just as God had a plan for the wolf, there must be a plan for him too. He decided to sit and wait for someone to feed him, convinced that help would come. He waited for 2 days without any food. Finally, unable to bear the hunger any longer, he left in search of food. On his way, he met an old sage. He told the sage everything and asked, "O wise one, God showed mercy to the crippled wolf. Why didn't he show mercy to me?" The old sage replied, "It is true that God has a plan for everyone, and you are part of his plan. But my son, you misunderstood his signs. God didn't want you to be like the wolf, waiting for help. He wanted you to be like the lion, strong and capable of helping others." The sage's words made the lazy man realize his mistake. He had misinterpreted God's signs and taken the wrong path. The man thanked the sage and vowed to change his ways. He decided to work hard and think that true fulfillment comes from one's own efforts. Sometimes in life we can misread God's signs and take the wrong path. But it's never too late to reflect, learn, and change. By contemplating our actions and decisions, we can find a happier and more successful path. Remember, be like the lion, not the wolf.
Once upon a time, a mouse noticed that the owner of the farm set a mouse trap. He told this to the chicken, sheep, and cow, but all of them answered, "The mouse trap is your problem. It has nothing to do with us." Later, a snake was caught in a mouse trap and bit the farmer's daughter. The farmer, trying to heal her, made chicken soup for his daughter. Afterwards, slaughtered a sheep to feed everyone who came to visit the daughter. Unfortunately, the daughter died, and the farmer slaughtered the cow to feed it to the guests at the funeral of his daughter. All this time, the mouse watched what was happening through a hole in the wall. Always remember, if something doesn't concern you, don't directly think that this is something that will not hit you on the head. Once upon a time, a group of hunters was walking through the forest. They got lost. Their leader was selfish and did not want to share food with other hunters. Get a leader. The hunters sadly wandered the forest for days. He fell to the ground and injured himself. He couldn't walk towards him. The wolves surrounded him. He thought, "This is the end for me." The wolves started to hurt him, and the hunter could not fight them. Suddenly, the hunter heard a loud sound. He saw his group of hunters coming together as a team to help him fight the pack of wolves. The hunter, together with his team, managed to scare the wolves. "Why did you come back to help me?" asked the leader. "Because we are a team. Just like the wolves that are strong in a pack, we are also stronger as a team."
One day, a man saw a hurt bird, almost dead outside of his house. The bird was in pain and unable to fly. The man carefully picked up the injured bird and provided food, shelter, and warmth until the bird regained its strength. Grateful for the man's care, the bird spoke, saying, "I will grant you whatever you want because of your kindness." The man was shocked, and without hesitation he replied, "I wish for the well-being and happiness of all living beings in this world." The bird said, "I will grant you this wish, but tell me, why didn't you ask anything for yourself?" The man smiled and said, "$1 million will not give me happiness, but helping others will." Remember, kindness is its own reward, for the truest wealth lies not in what we possess, but in the compassion we share with others. Once upon a time, a group of frogs were traveling through the forest when two of them fell into a deep pit. When the other frogs saw how deep the pit was, they told the two frogs that there was no hope left for them. However, the two frogs ignored their comrades and proceeded to try to jump out of the pit. However, despite their efforts, the group of frogs at the top of the pit were still saying that they should just give up as they'd never make it out. Eventually, one of the frogs took heed of what the others were saying, and he gave up, jumping even deeper to his death. The other frog continued to jump as hard as he could. Once again, the group of frogs yelled at him to stop the pain and to just die. He ignored them and jumped even harder and finally made it out. When he got out, the other frog said, "Did you not hear us?" The frog explained to them that he was deaf and that he thought they were encouraging him the entire time. So, ignore haters. Once upon a time, one afternoon, a fox was walking through the forest and spotted a bunch of grapes hanging from a lofty branch. "Just the thing to quench my thirst," he thought. Taking a couple of steps back, the fox jumped and just missed the hanging grapes. The fox tried again, but still failed to reach them. Finally, giving up, the fox turned his nose up and said, "They're probably sour anyway," and walked away. If you can't get something, don't dismiss it. Appreciate its value instead of assuming it's not worth having. Once upon a time, in a sunny land, a young shepherd boy named Max watched fluffy sheep all day. Feeling bored one day, he shouted, "Wolf! Wolf!" The villagers rushed up the hill, only to find Max laughing. They warned him not to lie. Days later, Max did it again. "Wolf! Wolf!" Up came the villagers, only to be fooled again. They were very angry. But then, a real wolf came. The boy cried for help, but the villagers thought it was another trick. They ignored him, and the wolf ate his sheep. The boy learned a big lesson. Never lie, or you won't be believed when you need help the most. Once upon a time, 4 friends went on a journey to find a way to earn money. 3 of them knew magic. Other one was just a regular guy. In a forest, they found some bones under a tree. They thought it was a good chance to show their magic. The first friend used his magic to turn the bones into a skeleton. The second friend used his magic to cover the skeleton with flesh, making it look like a lion. The third friend was about to use his magic to bring the lion to life, but the fourth friend stopped him. He said, "If the lion comes to life, it might harm us." But the other friends didn't listen and brought the lion to life. As the fourth friend had warned, the lion attacked them. The fourth friend, who had climbed a tree, was safe. He returned to the village alone, reminding us that common sense is also a form of wisdom. Once upon a time in a beautiful forest, Lonely Elephant searched for a friend. Monkey said, "Can't swing on trees." Rabbit said, "Den too small for you." Even frogs wouldn't be friends. Next day, a scary tiger came. Animals ran. Tiger chased a baby bear. "Get out of my way!" roared the tiger at the elephant. The elephant wasn't scared. He fought the tiger and chased it away. The baby bear, saved, became the elephant's first friend. Soon, all the animals wanted to be the elephant's friend. Remember, friends come in all shapes and sizes. Don't judge by looks. Once upon a time in beautiful forest, there lived a clever rabbit named Rosie and a cunning fox named Felix. Felix often tried to trick Rosie into becoming his dinner. One day, Felix approached Rosie with a plan. "Let's race to the big oak tree. The winner gets a delicious carrot." Rosie agreed, but she knew Felix's sly ways. As they raced, Rosie darted into a small burrow near the tree, while Felix kept running ahead. When Felix reached the tree, he found Rosie waiting with the carrot. "How did you beat me?" he asked, bewildered. Rosie smiled. "Being quick isn't always about speed, it's about being smart. Remember, intelligence can outwit strength and cunning." Once upon a time, in a bustling meadow, there lived an ant named Andy and a grasshopper named Greg. Andy worked tirelessly, storing food for the winter, while Greg hopped around, enjoying the sunny days. One bright day, Greg approached Andy, laughing at his hard work. "Why do you toil so hard, Andy? Come play with me instead." But Andy shook his head. "I must prepare for the cold days ahead." Winter arrived sooner than expected, catching Greg unprepared. He begged Andy for help, but Andy had only enough food for himself. Remember, hard work and preparation pay off in the long run. In the city of Techtopia, 3 curious kids, Mia, Max, and Leo, made 3 robots their friends, Bolt, Spark, and Gear. One day, a huge storm hit, causing chaos and leaving the city in darkness. With their glowing eyes, the robots detected some signals from various corners. Together, the kids and robots went on a rescue mission. Bolt's bright light lighted the dark streets, Spark used electrical powers to restore power, and Gear fixed broken machines. As they helped others, they discovered the lesson of teamwork and kindness. Each friend's unique skills mattered, and by combining their efforts, they overcame challenges. The city soon sparkled with renewed energy, and the grateful residents learned that when friends work together, they can overcome any storm. The tale of robot friends rescue taught Mia, Max, and Leo the value of unity and how diverse talents create a stronger, brighter community. Once upon a time, there was a little ant named Andy. He loved exploring the world around him. One sunny day, he found a big, juicy watermelon. Andy wanted to bring it back to his ant friends, but it was too heavy for him. He called for help, and a wise old ant named Oliver came to his aid. Oliver said, "Andy, even small creatures can achieve big things when they work together. Let's gather our friends." Andy and Oliver called all the other ants. They formed a line and pushed the watermelon together. It was hard work, but they didn't give up. They moved the watermelon bit by bit, helping each other along the way. Finally, they reached their ant hill with the watermelon. The ants celebrated and shared the delicious fruit. They learned that even the smallest creatures can achieve big things when they help and support each other. Once upon a time in a village, a farmer saw a snake dying in the fire and decided to pull it out of the fire. When he did this, the snake bit him, causing unbearable pain. He threw the snake away and it fell back into the fire. Then the farmer grabbed a metal rod, pulled out the snake with it, and saved its life. His son, who witnessed this, asked him, "Why do you continue to try to save the snake after it has bitten you?" The farmer replied, "The snake's nature is to bite, but it shouldn't change my nature to help. Remember, don't let someone else's hurtful actions change who you are." Once upon a time, a mouse noticed that the owner of the farm set a mouse trap. He told this to the chicken, sheep, and cow, but all of them answered, "The mouse trap is your problem. It has nothing to do with us." Later, a snake was caught in a mouse trap and bit the farmer's daughter. The farmer, trying to heal her, made chicken soup for his daughter. Afterwards, slaughtered a sheep to feed everyone who came to visit the daughter. Unfortunately, the daughter died, and the farmer slaughtered the cow to feed it to the guests at the funeral of his daughter. All this time, the moose watched what was happening through a hole in the wall. Always remember, if something doesn't concern you, don't directly think that this is something that will not hit you on the head. Once upon a time in a beautiful forest, a lion was sleeping peacefully when a mouse accidentally ran across his face, waking him up. Annoyed, the lion caught the mouse and was about to eat it. But the mouse begged, "Please let me go. Someday I'll help you in return." The lion was amused by this promise and released the mouse, thinking it was impossible. Later, the lion got trapped in a net by hunters. Unable to free himself, he roared in frustration. Hearing this, the mouse remembered the lion's kindness and rushed to help. He worked hard to bite through the ropes, eventually setting the lion free. The lion, now free, was amazed and grateful. The mouse then said, "You didn't think I could ever help you, but now you see even a small mouse can do big things for a lion." No matter how small or insignificant someone may seem, every act of kindness has value and can make a difference. Once upon a time in a faraway place there was an orc and an elf. They were friends. One day, they were traveling in the forest when suddenly a big, dire wolf approached them. The orc quickly pulled out his battle axe and said, "There is 2 of us, we can take him." However, the elf already swam to the river, leaving the orc behind. Unable to swim or fight the savage beast alone, the orc threw himself on the ground and pretended to be dead. The dire wolf sniffed him, thought he was dead, and moved on. The elf swam back to the shore and asked the orc, "What did the wolf whisper in your ear?" The orc replied, "The wolf advised me to stay away from friends like you. Remember, true friends will always have your back in dire situations." Once upon a time, a man and his wife had the good fortune to have a goose which laid a golden egg every day. Lucky though they were, they soon began to think they were not getting rich fast enough. They imagined that if the bird is able to lay golden eggs, its insides must be made of gold. And they thought that if they could get all that precious metal at once, they would get mighty rich very soon. So the man and his wife decided to kill the bird. However, upon cutting the goose open, they were shocked to find that its innards were like that of any other goose. Always remember to think before you act. One day, a man saw a hurt bird, almost dead outside of his house. The bird was in pain and unable to fly. The man carefully picked up the injured bird and provided food, shelter, and warmth until the bird regained its strength. Grateful for the man's care, the bird spoke, saying, "I will grant you whatever you want because of your kindness." The man was shocked, and without hesitation he replied, "I wish for the well-being and happiness of all living beings in this world." The bird said, "I will grant you this wish, but tell me, why didn't you ask anything for yourself?" The man smiled and said, "$1 million will not give me happiness, but helping others will." Remember, kindness is its own reward, for the truest wealth lies not in what we possess, but in the compassion we share with others. Once upon a time, there was a colorful peacock and a little sparrow. They both loved their feathers and wanted to know who had the prettiest feathers. So they asked a wise owl to decide. The owl smiled and said, You both have beautiful feathers in your own special way. It's not about who is prettier, but about being happy with who you are. The peacock and sparrow understood and became best friends. They started playing and having fun together, not worrying about their feathers. They learned that being happy is all about loving yourself and being friends with others, no matter how different they may be. Remember, true happiness lies in accepting oneself and welcoming friendship. Once upon a time, a father took his son to the jungle. After a few hours, he asked his son, "Have you ever wondered how ancient hunters used to outsmart monkeys?" The son answered with a simple no. The father continued, "Instead of chasing monkeys through the jungle, these hunters placed a heavy glass jar on the floor. They would fill the jar with delicious treats for the monkeys. Then the hunters would hide and wait in the shadows for a monkey to approach. Finally, the monkey would reach into the jar, but the jar made it impossible for the monkey to pull its hand out while clutching the food. Not being able to let go, it struggled, pulled and strained, but freedom remained elusive. Yet the monkey refused to release its grip, blinded by its size, and too greedy. In life, son, there will be situations where holding on becomes a trap. Knowing when to quit, when to let go, and when to move on is as essential as breathing. The monkey's downfall was its own stubbornness. That's a lesson we must carry with us. In the hot noon sun, a father, his son, and a donkey walked through a dusty town. The father rode the donkey while the boy walked beside them. A passerby said, "Poor boy, he can't keep up with the donkey because his legs are short. How can a father ride while his son walks?" Hearing this, the father put his son on the donkey. Soon, another man passed by and shouted, "How rude! The boy sits on the donkey while his old father walks." This made the boy feel bad, so he asked his father to sit with him on the donkey. Then a woman passing by shouted, "It's cruel to the donkey. Its back is bending because both the man and boy are sitting on it." Hearing this, the father and son got off the donkey and walked beside it. Later, a stranger laughed at them, saying, "Why have a donkey if it doesn't carry anyone? That's silly. Remember, stop changing yourself for others. You can't please everyone, just be yourself." Once upon a time, there was a wise farmer who grew the most excellent wheat. Every season he won the award for the best wheat in his country. A wise woman came to him to ask him about his success. He told her that the key was sharing his best seed with his neighbors. The wise woman asked, "How can you share your best wheat seed with your neighbors when they compete against you every year?" "That's simple," he replied. "The wind spreads the pollen from everyone's wheat and carries it from field to field. If my neighbors grew inferior wheat, cross-pollination would degrade everyone's wheat, including mine. If I'm to grow the best wheat, I must help my neighbors grow superior wheat as well." This is not only an excellent advice for growing the best wheat, but also a great advice for how to live your life. Once a farmer had a goat, a bundle of grass, and a lion. He had to cross a river on a small boat, which could carry only 2 of them at a time. The farmer was in a fix. If he takes the lion first, then the goat would eat up the grass in his absence. If he takes the grass, the lion would eat up the goat. At last, he found the perfect solution. He first took the goat and left it on the other side of the river. Then he took the lion on his second round. He left the lion and brought the goat back. Leaving the goat on this side, he took the bundle of grass. He left the grass with the lion and returned to take the goat in the end. Thus, he crossed the river without any loss. Remember, problems can often be solved in a thoughtful, intuitive way. An old man was sitting near an entrance to a city. A young man approached him and asked, "I have never been here. Tell me what kind of people live in this city." The old man replied, "What kind of people live in the city where you came from? They were selfish and evil people." That's why I left." The old man replied, "You'll meet exactly the same people here." After a while, another person approached and asked the same question. "I just arrived. Tell me, what kind of people live in this city?" The old man answered the same way. "What kind of people live in the city that you came from? They are kind and noble. You will find the same here." The old man replied. A merchant who was nearby and heard both dialogues turned to the old man and asked, "How could you give two different answers to the same question?" "My son," says the old man, "each of us carries his own world in his heart. There are good people and bad people everywhere. We can only find what we are capable to find." A very poor man lived with his wife. One day his wife, who had very long hair, asked him to buy her a comb. The man felt very sorry and said no. He explained that he did not even have enough money to fix the strap of his watch he had just broken. Wife did not insist on her request. The man went to work and passed by a watch shop, sold his damaged watch and bought a comb for his wife. When he came back to home, he was surprised when he saw his wife with a very short haircut. She had sold her hair and was holding a new watch. Tears flowed from their eyes, not for the futility of their action, but for the reciprocity of their love. To love is nothing. To be loved is something. But to love and to be loved by the one you love is everything. So always value the companionship of those you hold dear and consistently. Devote yourself to their care, happiness. A man walked down the street and saw the same cat laying under a tree every day. Each time he would scream, "You are here again," and kick the poor cat, laughing as it ran away in fear and pain. One day, as he approached the tree to repeat his usual routine, a large branch broke and fell on his head. When he opened his eyes, the world looked bigger. He shouted, "What happened to me?" and tried to stand up, but found himself on 4 legs. He tried to speak, but couldn't. "Am I a cat now?" he thought. He was trapped in the body of the cat he had heard every day. Soon he became hungry and went in search of food, but everyone pushed him away and shouted at him. That night, he slept on a rainy, wet street. At one moment, a mysterious man approached him, petted his head, and said, "Now you know how the cat feels, how you are making her days harder." In the next moment, the man woke up in his bed. He rushed to the tree and saw the cat. He took the cat home and fed her with food and water. That night, in the man's dream, the same mysterious man appeared and said, "Helping someone instead of bullying them may not change the whole world, but it could change the world for that someone." Once upon a time, there was a king who only had one leg and one eye, but he was very intelligent and kind. The king announced that he wants a beautiful portrait made of himself. Any painter who can carry out this should come forward. He will be rewarded based on how the painting turns up. All the painters saw his deficits. Not possible to make it beautiful, and the king will punish them. So one by one politely declined. But suddenly one painter raised his hand and said that he will make a beautiful portrait. The king became happy and other painters got curious. The king agreed and the painters started drawing. Finally, after taking a long time, he said that the portrait was ready. What if the king didn't like it and gets angry? All the other painters thought. But when the painter presented the portrait, everyone, including the king, left stunned. The painter made a portrait in which the king was sitting on the horse, on the one-leg side, holding his bow and aiming the arrow with his one eye closed. The king was very pleased to see a beautiful portrait by cleverly hiding the king's disabilities. The king gave him a great reward. Always think positively about others and ignore their imperfections. We should learn to focus on the good things instead of overthinking our weaknesses. One day, a king was told that there is a person in whose kingdom so unlucky that anyone who saw his face would not get any food from morning till evening. The king found this strange and decided to see for himself. The next day, the king met the person. Coincidentally, the king did not get a chance to eat from morning till evening. Convinced that the person was unlucky, the king ordered his execution. At the time of the execution, the king himself came to witness and said to the person, "You are so unlucky. I saw your face that morning and didn't get any food the entire day." The person replied, "O king, the truth is that we both saw each other's faces that day. You didn't get food for one day after seeing my face, but after seeing your face, I am about to lose my life. Now, think for yourself, who is more unlucky?" Long ago, There was a kind and wise king in a kingdom. He ordered the construction of a 100-kilometer road for his people. Once the road was completed, the king called his 3 ministers. He asked them to inspect the road and report any issues. The first minister returned and said, "Your Majesty, the road is splendid, but I noticed some trash at one spot. If it's removed, the road will be perfect." The second minister returned with the same report. "Your Majesty, the road is wonderful, but there is trash at one place. Removing it will make the road flawless." The third minister returned, tired and sweaty, carrying a bag. He said, "Your Majesty, the road is magnificent, but I found trash at one spot. I cleaned it up and now the road looks beautiful. I also found this bag, which someone might have left behind." The king smiled and said, "I placed the trash in the bag there. The bag contains money as a reward for you." The king then announced, "Everyone points out problems, and everyone wants things to be perfect, but few take action. If we want our society to improve, we must take responsibility and act." Once there were 2 dogs, Lazy and Bobby. One sunny afternoon, both wandered into a mysterious room at different times. When Lazy emerged from the room, his tail was wagging faster than ever, and he had a big smile on his face. But when Bobby trudged out, he seemed even grumpier than before, with a deep growl rumbling in his throat. Watching from afar, a kind lady noticed the stark difference in their moods and decided to investigate. Stepping into the peculiar room, she was met with an astonishing sight. It was filled with thousands of mirrors stretching from floor to ceiling. As Lazy had entered the room with happiness in his heart, he saw countless reflections of happy, wagging-tailed dogs just like him filling every mirror. But poor Bobby, who had already been feeling grumpy, saw nothing but stern-faced, growling dogs glaring back at him from every angle. Deep in thought, the lady realized that the way we feel inside can color the way we see the world around us. On a sunny afternoon, little Sophie was walking home from school. She noticed an old woman struggling with heavy grocery bags, looking tired and in need of help. Sophie, though small in stature, had a big heart. She walked up to the woman and offered her help with a bright smile. "Can I help you with your bag?" she asked politely. The old woman's face lit up with relief and gratitude. "Thank you, dear," she said, as Sophie picked up the bags and started walking with her. As they walked, Sophie and the woman chatted about their day. The woman shared stories from her youth, and Sophie listened with interest. When they finally reached the woman's home, she invited Sophie in for a moment. The old woman thanked Sophie with a warm smile and handed her a freshly baked cookie. "For your kindness," she said as she waved goodbye. Sophie knew that her small act of kindness had brought joy to the woman's day. Remember, even the smallest acts of kindness can brighten someone's life. A little boy went to school every day, and during lunch breaks he often spent time with the school's janitor. "My birthday is coming up soon, and I want you to come," the boy said excitedly. The janitor smiled and replied, "Thank you for inviting me, but I work late every day. Are you inviting others too?" The boy nodded. "Yes, I have many friends, and they always say how much they like me." A few days before his birthday, the boy handed out invitations to all his friends and gave one to the janitor too. On the day of his birthday, the boy waited for his friends to arrive. But as time passed, no one showed up. With tears in his eyes, the boy asked his mother, "Why didn't anyone come to my birthday?" The boy and his mother began to celebrate his birthday alone. Suddenly, they heard a knock on the door. The boy opened it and saw the janitor standing there with a big smile, holding a huge present. "You didn't forget about me," the boy shouted with joy. The janitor smiled and said, "It's always better to have one true friend than many who aren't real. Happy birthday."
A farmer on a farm found a strange egg on the ground. He placed it under a hen, thinking it was an egg from his chicken. After a few days, the hen hatched the egg. A baby eagle emerged. Everyone called him Jack. Jack grew up alongside the other chicks on the farm. It acted just like them, pecking at the ground and never trying to fly. Time passed. Jack grew much larger than the chickens, but its behavior remained the same. One day the Jack saw a wonderful bird flying in the distant sky. Jack was surprised and asked another chicken who it was. He replied, "That's the eagle, king of the birds. He belongs to the sky, while we chickens belong to the earth." Jack continued to live as a chicken, not knowing that he was an eagle and died of old age. When you surround yourself with people who limit you, it's hard to recognize your own potential. One day, a deer went to a pond to drink some water. The water was clear and the deer could see its reflection. Admiring its beautiful horns, the deer felt proud. But when he saw his thin legs, he felt sad and uncomfortable. While he was still thinking how ugly his feet were, suddenly he heard the sound of a hunter's horse and the barking of hounds. A deer ran for his life as fast as his legs could carry him. Soon the gecko was far behind. But while running through a big forest, its horn got caught in the branches of a tree. The fawn struggled to break free, but to no avail. Meanwhile, the hunter and his hunter caught it, and the hunters brought it down. The legs it hated saved it from predators, and the beautiful horns it admired caused its death. Not everything that looks good is really valuable. One day a mother camel and her baby camel were lying near its mother. "Why do we have these?" mother thought, and then said, "We live in a desert without water. Our humps store water to help us survive long journeys." Then the baby camel thought, "Well, why do we have long legs with round feet?" said. His mother replied, "They are meant to help us walk through sand." The baby camel asked a third question, "Why are my eyelashes so long?" Mother replied, "Your long eyelashes offer you protection from sand when it blows in the wind." Finally, the baby said, "If we have all of these natural abilities given to us to walk through the desert, what's the use for camels in the zoo?" Remember, the skills and abilities that you possess won't be useful if you're not in the right environment. A young girl noticed a sign saying, "Puppies for sale." She was very eager to go inside. She asked, "How much do the puppies cost?" Owner replied, "They are all around $50. She only had about $2, but she still wanted to look at them. The shop owner whistled for the dogs. 5 dogs came out. The girl immediately singled out the lagging puppy and asked the store owner what was wrong with him. The puppy was born with a deformity. He would walk with a limp for the rest of his life. The girl got excited. "I want that puppy." The owner replied, "If you really want him, you can have him for free." The girl became upset. "That puppy is worth just as much as the others. I'll give you the change I have now and $1 a month until I have paid for the puppy entirely." The owner continued, "This dog is never going to be able to run and play like all of the other dogs. I think you're going to regret this decision." To his surprise, the girl showed leg to reveal a crippled leg that was supported by a large metal brace. She replied, "Well, I'm not much of a runner, and this puppy needs someone who understands." Anna has to enroll in a city school from grade 5. At her first day, the students in the class started making fun of her when they found out that she was in a small village. Soon the teacher came and asked everyone to be quiet and introduced Anna to the class. Then she told everyone to write the 7 miracles of the world for the test. Everyone started writing the answers quickly, and Anna started writing the answers slowly. In a while, teacher started reading everyone's answers, and the majority answered correctly, such as Great Wall of China, Colosseum, Stonehenge, Great Pyramid of Giza, and much more. Finally, the teacher started reading Anna's answer sheet. The 7 miracles are being able to see, hear, feel, laugh, think, be kind, and love. The teacher was stunned and the class was speechless. Today, a small village girl reminded them about the precious gift that God has given us, which is really amazing. Appreciate what you have. God has given you all the strength to reach your goals. On a hot summer day, an ant was looking for some water. After walking around for a while, Ant came to the river and climbed on a small stone to drink water. While trying to drink water, the ant slipped and fell into the river. A parrot sitting on a tree branch saw an ant falling into the river. He quickly plucked a leaf and dropped it into the river near the struggling ant. The ant climbed on it. Soon, the leaves drifted to the dry ground and the ant jumped out. He thanked the parrot. Later that day, a boy prepared to throw a catapult at the parrot in hopes of catching a bird. An ant saw him and guessed what he was going to do. The parrot was resting and had no idea about the boy catching the bird. An ant quickly bit his foot. Feeling the pain, the boy let go of the catapult and screamed. As soon as the parrot saw it, he flew away. With the help of the ant, he saved his life. If you do good, good will come to you. One good turn deserves another.
A wolf had been feasting too greedily, and a bone had stuck crosswise in his throat. He could get it neither up nor down, and of course he could not eat a thing. Naturally, that was an awful state of affairs for a greedy wolf, so away he hurried to the crane. He was sure that she, with her long neck and bill, would easily be able to reach the bone and pull it out. "I will reward you very handsomely," said the wolf, "if you pull that bone out for me." The crane, as you can imagine, was very uneasy about putting her head in Wolf's throat, but she was grasping in nature, so she did what the wolf asked her to do. When the wolf felt that the bone was gone, he started to walk away. "But what about my reward?" called the crane anxiously. "What?" snarled the wolf, whirling around. "Haven't you got it? Isn't it enough that I let you take your head out of my mouth without snapping it off? Expect no reward for serving the one who has no honor. Staying in a company of selfish people will not do anyone any favor." Once upon a time, two friends were walking together through a vast, hot desert. The sun blazed above them, and the journey was long and tiring. Along the way, they had an argument. Tempers flared, and in a moment of anger, one friend slapped the other across the face. The friend who was slapped felt hurt and upset, but he didn't say a word. Instead, he bent down and wrote in the sand, "Today, my best friend slapped me in the face." They continued walking in silence until they reached an oasis, a beautiful spot with cool, refreshing water. Feeling relieved, they decided to rest and wash away the desert's dust. While playing near the water, the friend who had been slapped accidentally slipped into a patch of deep mud. He started sinking and struggled to free himself. Panic set in as he began to drown, but his friend quickly rushed to his side. With great effort, he pulled him out of the mud and saved his life. After catching his breath and calming down, the friend who had been saved found a stone nearby. On it, he carved the words, "Today my best friend saved my life." Curious, the friend who had slapped and saved him asked, "When I hurt you, you wrote it in the sand. But now, when I saved you, you carved it into stone. Why?" The other friend smiled and said, "When someone hurts us, we should write it in the sand, where the winds of forgiveness can erase it. But when someone does something kind and good for us, we should engrave it in stone, where no wind can ever take it away." The two friends looked at each other and smiled, understanding the value of forgiveness and gratitude. Their bond grew even stronger, and they carried this lesson in their hearts wherever they went. A man who lived a long time ago believed that he could read the future in the stars. He called himself an astrologer and spent his time at night gazing at the sky. He was always busy worrying about future, and villagers often came to him, hoping to know what their future holds. One evening he was walking along the open road outside the village. His eyes were fixed on the stars. He thought he saw there that the end of the world was at near. He lost in his thoughts about the future. As he was looking at the stars, he kept walking without looking down. Suddenly he fell into a ditch full of mud and water. He was sinking in the muddy water and madly trying to claw at the slippery sides of the hole in his effort to climb out. He was unable to crawl out, and fearing for his life, he started screaming for help. His cries for help soon brought the villagers running. As they pulled him out of the mud, one of them said, "You pretend to read the future in the stars, and yet you fail to see what is at your feet. This may teach you to pay more attention to what is right in front of you, and let the future take care of itself. "What use is it," said another, "to read the stars when you can't see what's right here on the earth?" Remember, we all want our future to be bright and happy, but the time doesn't stop for anyone. Each tomorrow turns into today. Your present is also a part of your future. There is always a tomorrow to look forward to and improve, but you can't go back to yesterday. So, maintain the balance of your present life while you work for a better tomorrow. One day, a curious young man, with wide eyes and a hopeful heart, he asked, "Sir, what is the secret to success?" The man, with a knowing smile, paused and then replied, "Meet me by the river tomorrow morning, and I'll show you." The next morning, the boy arrived at the river as the sun began to rise, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink. The wise man was already there, waiting. Without saying much, the man gestured for the boy to follow him in, his curiosity stronger than his fear. They waded deeper and deeper into the river until the water was up to their chests. Then, without warning, the man grabbed the boy and pushed him underwater. The boy was startled and began to struggle, his arms flailing as he tried to rise back up. But the man's grip was firm, keeping him submerged. The boy's lungs began to burn and panic set in. He felt a fish brush against his leg, but all he could think about was getting back to the surface. Just as the boy thought he couldn't hold on any longer, the man pulled him up. The boy gasped, gulping in deep breaths of air, his chest heaving. After a moment, the man looked at the boy and asked, "We're underwater." The boy, still catching his breath, replied, "Air. I needed air." The man nodded with a smile and said, "When you want to succeed as badly as you wanted to breathe just now, you will find success. That level of hunger, that relentless determination, that's the secret." The boy stood there, the lesson sinking in as deeply as the air filled his lungs. From that day on, he understood what it meant to truly fight for his dreams. In a quiet little village, a farmer lived happily with his family. Every day he toiled in his fields under the warm sun, working hard to provide for his loved ones. One fine morning, as he dug the earth to plant seeds, his hoe struck something unusual. Curious, he bent down and uncovered 3 sparkling stones, each glowing with a mysterious light. As he picked up the stones, something incredible happened. Each one began to speak. The first stone said in a bold voice, "I am prosperity. Keep me, and your fields will yield bountiful harvests beyond your wildest dreams. You'll never know hunger or want again." The second stone chimed in with a confident tone. "I am success. Take me, and every effort you make will turn into triumph. Your name will be known far and wide." Finally, the third stone spoke gently, almost like a soothing melody. "I am harmony. Choose me, and your life will be filled with peace, love, and joy. Your family will flourish together in happiness." The farmer stood there, puzzled. He could only take 1 stone home, and the choice was difficult. He thought deeply as the wind whispered through the trees. "If I choose prosperity, my family will never go hungry," he reasoned. "If I choose success, I can achieve greatness and make my family proud." But then he looked toward his small, cozy home, where his wife and children were laughing and waiting for him. He smiled softly. "I'm without peace and love in my home," he thought. With a heart full of certainty, the farmer picked the stone of harmony. When he returned home, something miraculous happened. His once empty barn was now overflowing with golden crops, and everything he worked on suddenly turned into success. Astonished, the farmer asked the stone, "How is this possible? I only chose harmony." The stone glowed warmly and replied, "Where peace and a family united in love can achieve abundance in every form." From that day on, the farmer's life was filled with not only peace and joy, but also the and he learned an important truth. The greatest treasure is a heart full of harmony. Once in a Christmas Eve, a little girl was decorating a box with a gold wrapping paper to put it under the Christmas tree. The family didn't have much money, so the girl's father punished her for wasting almost all roll of that expensive paper. However, the next morning, the girl brought the gift to her father. "This is for you, Daddy," she said. He opened the box and found it empty, so he became angry again. "Don't you know that when you give someone a gift, it is supposed that there would be something inside it?" he said with anger in his eyes. The little girl looked at her father with tears and said, "Daddy, this box is not empty. I filled it with my kisses, all for you." The father was shocked. He felt so embarrassed that he could just put his arms around his little daughter and ask for her forgiveness. Remember, the true worth of a gift is in the love and feelings it holds, not just its material value. One day, Albert Einstein wanted to teach his students a lesson they would never forget. He wrote a big number 1 on the board and said to the students, "This represents your humanity, the most important thing in life." Then he added a 0 next to the number 1, saying, "This is your achievement. When combined with humanity, it makes you 10 times better. Every experience adds another 0, improving you even more," explained the Einstein. Suddenly, when the Einstein erased the number 1, leaving only meaningless zeros on the board, the Einstein smiled and said, "Remember, without humanity, everything else is worth nothing." One day, a wise man walked into a room to teach his students a valuable lesson. As he raised a glass of water, he asked, "How heavy do you think this?" People called out 8 ounces, 16 ounces, or even 20 ounces. He replied, "The weight of this glass doesn't matter. It all depends on how long I hold it. If I hold it for a minute, it's not a problem. The glass still feels light. If I hold it for an hour, my arm will start hurting. The glass will feel heavy. And if I hold it for an entire day, my arm will start to feel numb and paralyzed. The glass would feel unbearable. The weight of the glass never changes, but the longer I hold it, the heavier it becomes. The stresses and worries in life are like a glass of water. If you think about them for a while, nothing happens. If you think about them for a bit longer, they begin to hurt. And if you think about them all day long, then you will feel paralyzed, not capable of doing anything. So remember to put the glass down."
There was a businessman taking a brief break from his hectic schedule sitting on the beach as he relaxed. He saw a fisherman rowing a small boat back into the harbor with a few large fish inside, impressed. The businessman asked, "How long does it take you to catch so many fish?" The fisherman replied. "Not so long." Confused, the businessman asked, "Why don't you fish for longer to catch even more?" "This is enough to feed my entire family," the fisherman responded, curious. The businessman inquired, "So, what do you do for the rest of your day?" The fisherman explained, "I usually catch my fish by late morning, then I go home, kiss my wife and play with my kids in the afternoon. I take a nap and read in the evening. I go to the village to have a drink with my friends, play guitar, sing and dance into the night." The businessman offered a suggestion. "I have a PhD in business. I can help you become much more successful. You should spend more time at sea and catch as many fish as possible when you've saved enough money. Buy a bigger boat to catch even more fish from there. You'll soon be able to buy more boats, set up your own company, build production plant to can the fish, control distribution, and move to the city to manage your other branches?" the fisherman asked. "And after that?" the businessman laughed and said, "After that, you'll be able to live like a king and be rich." "And after that," the fisherman repeated, "after that you can retire, move to a house by the sea, wake up early in the morning to go fishing, then return home to play with your kids, kiss your wife, take a nap in the afternoon, and join your friends in the village to drink, play guitar, and dance into the night." The fisherman replied, "But isn't that what I am doing already? Be content with what you have." Do you really need to keep pushing for more stress? Is often a choice. There is joy and peace in simplicity.
Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, a wise king wanted to find a new ruler. He asked all the young people from his kingdom to come to the palace for a special meeting. In a far-off village, there was a young man very hard to get ready for his big trip to the palace. He thought he needed nice clothes and some things for his journey. On his way, he met a beggar who was very cold and didn't have nice clothes. The young man felt bad for him and gave him his new clothes and shared his food. The young man was worried that his old clothes might make him look bad at the palace, but he kept going. He tried to make himself look as good as possible, but when the king came in, the young man was shocked. The king looked exactly like the beggar he had helped. The king told him he was the beggar and wanted to see if the young man was kind, even to someone who looked poor. The king said, "Being kind makes you wise. It's more important than just being smart." Once upon a time in a beautiful forest, a lonely elephant searched for a friend. Monkey said, "Can't swing on trees." Rabbit said, "Den too small for you." Even frogs wouldn't be friends. Next day, a scary tiger came. Animals ran. Tiger chased a baby bear. "Get out of my way," roared the tiger at the elephant. The elephant wasn't scared. He fought the tiger and chased it away. The baby bear, saved, became the elephant's first friend. Soon, all the animals wanted to be the elephant's friend. Remember, friends come in all shapes and sizes. Don't judge by looks. In a faraway kingdom, kings only ruled 5 years. By law, they had to retire to a scary forest with wild animals. Many brave kings tried, but none returned. One day, the people chose a wise man to be their king. He said no at first. Then he said, "I accept, but on one condition. You must allow me to visit the forest first." The people, surprised, agreed. He found that the place is full of trees and dangerous animals. There were no facilities for survival. He decided to become the king, years wisely. In the first year, he started cutting some trees to make a safe path to visit forest. In the second year, he shifted the dangerous animals to the safest place. In the third year, he even started farms and proved, if you can manage the time well, you can making things better. Once upon a time, a man and his wife had the good fortune to have a goose, which laid a golden egg every day. Lucky though they were, they soon began to think they were not getting rich fast enough. They imagined that if the bird is able to lay golden eggs, its insides must be made of gold. And they thought that if they could get all that precious metal at once, they would get mighty rich very soon. So the man and his wife decided to kill its innards were like that of any other goose. Always remember to think before you act. Once upon a time, there was a little ant named Andy. He loved exploring the world around him.
So the man and his wife decided to kill the bird. However, upon cutting the goose open, they were shocked to find that its innards were like that of any other goose. Always remember to think before. One day, a man saw a hurt bird, almost dead in pain and unable to fly. The man carefully picked up the injured bird and provided